Yo, it's your boy Ancient Albatross here again with the Cypher Unlimited crew as usual. We got our usual suspects, Spiggs 18 or Anthony. We got Alpha Dean or Dean. But just as a quick reminder, if you haven't already, be sure to follow us here on Twitch and subscribe to us over on YouTube. It is a great help for our channel. We really appreciate all the support we've gotten so far. Without further ado, Dean, what are we doing here tonight?
Oh man, it's a nice night, man. You know, though we've got storms and extra mini moon coming into the atmosphere and all that weirdness. We have none other than our very good friend Charles Ryan from Monte Cook Games. He's here to chat with us to bring the bring the fear, if we will. We're gonna talk about some good stuff. We're going to talk about his project that's wrapping up soon, you know, these great books and everything, and basically just have a laid back night like we like to do around these parts, you know. And Sean, he's surpassing you again.
They tied him. They tied now.
Oh, they're tied again? Okay.
Yeah. This is he just tied him up.
So welcome, Charles. How you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm not doing too bad. How about yourselves?
Great.
Hanging in there. Charles, welcome back to the CU for the umpteenth time. It's always a pleasure getting to chat with you. We're going to talk about two things. One, you got a little surprise for us at the end, and we're excited to talk about that. But let's talk about your Backerkit project. You know, the Mason of New Orleans. It's fully funded. You only have 42 hours left. And give us the elevator pitch. What are these two books about?
Yeah, well, so these are two novels to tie it in, to make it relevant, because it is relevant to the gaming sphere. These sort of the characters and some of the basics of the storyline derived out of a multi-year Ars Magica campaign I ran in when I was living in England. And when I came back to the States, I had a little bit of time on my hands. I started writing, and I put the first novel together, The Mason of New Orleans. It's a big, thick, hefty book, like 170,000 words or something like that. And it tells the story of a guy who finds himself in the 12th century and has to deal with the situation there. There's politics, and there's stonemasonry, and there's cults and Satanism and evil stuff and bad guys and battles and all kinds of things, and you know, mysteries and astonishing plot twists. And I'd like to hope a lot of characters that you really enjoy spending time with, and then when you have to put the book down, you're sad because you miss those characters. And that's the first book, which has been out actually for about a decade. And I've worked on a sequel over the years, but I've been very busy with MCG. It sucks up a lot of my creative energy. So Backerkit was running this Booktopia campaign where it's a whole lot of novel and fiction related campaigns all synced up together. And I was like, you know what? If I crowdfunded this book, then I would have a deadline. I would have a commitment. I'd have to get there and get it finished. And so I did that, and we're gonna do I'm going to finish the second book. I'm going to do audiobooks of both books. They would both be an ebook, but then I'm also doing a print edition. And you mentioned that it's funded. It did fund fairly early on in the campaign. We've been through a stretch goal or so already, and the big stretch goal, the one that's really the most important, is upgrading the books to hardcover, which I'm looking forward to doing. And it's going to come down to the wire, but I think we might make it. We're just trying to get to 200 backers, and we're pretty close. I'll also say, as long as I'm here, that there is a thing for CU members. There's a special product. I'm going to make a CSOL product that delves into these characters and makes them as like really detailed NPCs from a medieval setting that you can use, and like really richly detailed, not just a few stats, but like player intrusions and GM intrusions and plot hooks and all kinds of things you can do with them, and beautifully illustrated. And the only way you will get that is if you are a CU member who backs the campaign. Nobody else will ever be able to get it. So a true exclusive. I really, really, really hope that the CU community will come out and you know, help make it happen.
That is freaking awesome. Like, I don't think we ever had a CU exclusive before, Dean. I feel privileged and honored there. That is so cool. If you had to give the main character a cipher sentence, what would you give them?
Oh, geez. I haven't started working on this product yet, so that's pretty tough. So Martin's a modern character, right? He's from our world. He was actually from 2009, and when he ends up there in 1197, he has nothing. He doesn't speak the language. He doesn't have any clothes. He doesn't have any possessions. Nothing whatsoever. And so he's totally at the mercy of what's going on there. So he's definitely a very resourceful character. And he has sort of this rich background. He's not a biographical character by any means, but to really put a lot of flesh on the bone when I was writing him, I drew a lot of experiences from my own. So like me, he was in the Army. Like me, he went to Virginia Tech. Like me, he spent years living in Northern Virginia suburbs of Washington, D.C. These are all things I could pull from my life and give to that character. He's I would probably call him an explorer, although there is a small chance that he's a speaker and doesn't know it. I don't know. I have to think. I should have come prepared for that. It seems like an obvious question. I should have come prepared to that. I don't know exactly what I am focus-wise and descriptor-wise.
Well, I think as far as descriptor, definitely resourceful.
Yeah.
I would definitely give him resourceful, and if that's not a descriptor, then that's one you need to make.
Right.
Right.
Or maybe that could also be part of descriptor foci specifically designed for Martin would be cool too.
That's not a bad idea. Like that, I hate to make I'm planning on covering in the CU product, the details of which are in the content creation channel. If you go down the list of channels there in the CU, you'll find I've just posted something about it recently. So I don't want to overpromise. I don't want to promise that something I can't make, but it would be interesting to maybe do some foci and descriptors that are based on the characters as opposed to building characters with the existing stuff. That could be an interesting thing to do.
Oh yeah,
totally.
We always looking for more content, so we're not going to fight you on that one, Charles.
Right, but the thing is, the product will treat them as NPCs, right? So they won't actually have a true sentence that describes them. They'll have the NPC stuff, but you could accompany that like with a descriptor or something that is related to sort of the way they are. I think that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Think about that.
I mean, Charles, what I'm seeing happening overall is I'm seeing that you're probably going to end up under some weird circumstance after this project is done. You're just going to put out the setting for that whole realm, as a book anyway. So,
it's a fun setting, and I really like writing in it. But it is first and foremost, it has elements of supernatural and horror in it. But it is first and foremost an historical novel, right? So like it would be, it's set in an area of Northern Europe that would now be Belgium, sort of on the border between the Germanic lands and the French-speaking lands. And so it wouldn't be like an over-the-top setting or things, I wouldn't be inventing a lot of stuff. All I would be doing is sort of breathing life into the setting the way I tried to do in the novels, which is something
that would be great, because that's something we don't actually have for the CU. We don't actually have a historical setting, with just some, cool supernatural elements and stuff like that. I mean, I think that would be a great product overall, because Cypher is so flexible, and this just be another way that you can, flex those Cypher muscles, show it off.
Fun.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
the Mason of New Orleans is pretty much complete, right? So
it has been out for 10 or 12 years. You can get it on Amazon today. And one of the nice side effects of having Olivia doing the social media for this is that in addition to backers coming to the campaign, I've also seen a nice spike in the sales. 149 in historical thrillers today on Amazon. So
awesome.
That's right for a 12-year-old book.
So what's the sequel called?
The sequel is called The Angel of Acbatana. That's sort of a weird word, but Acbatana is an ancient city in the Middle East. It's in probably what is modern day Iraq. It's mentioned in the Bible briefly. So it's one of these like early cradle of civilization cities. And that is as much as I will say about why that title is relevant to our characters.
Well, I said,
there's a this is a story that takes you on a journey that seems to be about one thing, and its story arc follows that thing around and brings it to a successful conclusion. And yet at the end, you discover that there may be parts of the story that are about something completely different. And it may not, there may be a reason why our character from 2009 is in 1197 or 1198 when it ends. And some astonishing twists and turns. I like to think anyway. Oh, Dean, you read it. What do you think?
That's what I was going to say. I've actually 3/4 of the way through the book. I didn't get to finish. I'm about 25% left, and it has been a great ride. I just haven't had time to finish it because of everything going on. But when I was flying, for work, that was perfect for in the airports. And yes, Martin is a very interesting and compelling character. You really get drawn in and feel for him. Some of the other characters are really cool. But I would say that yes, the twists and turns are interesting and compelling. Charles, you do have a way with words. I will give you, many accolades in that department. And I cannot wait for the audios because that's how when I drive back and forth to work, I have to drive an hour, 2 hours, in either direction.
Right.
And I listen to books when I'm driving. So when the audios come out, I'm gonna really enjoy, listening to the Angel Acbatana that way.
Very cool. Yeah. And
I'm sorry, Charles. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, guys in chat, if you have a question for Charles, he's also going to give us a sneak peek later, so you might have questions about that. Just post it in chat and preface it with the word question, so we'll know, and we'll definitely ask Charles as many of your questions as we possibly can. You can ahead, Charles.
Yeah, well, I was going to just say, because Dean mentioned the audiobook, and I've been going through the process of getting that sort of set up. I had started it in the middle of the summer, and I set it up on ACX, which is like the back end of Audible, where you can go in and you can put something up. You take a snippet of your book and you set it up, and then you can put it out there for auditions, and all these voice actors who are part of that back end can go in and audition for it. And I just did that in the summer, and it said it would take a day or two to be approved, and then like a month later, I'm like, why isn't this still approved? So I called customer service, and they were, oh, there's a glitch, and so it got approved. So anyway, a process that I had hoped would have happened this summer ended up happening just in the past couple of weeks. But I started the auditions poured in. I've got like 54 of them or something like that, 53. And it's not a big chunk of the book, but it's 10 or 15 minutes, right? So you'd think you read 50 things, listen to 50 things that take 15 minutes each. That's a lot of listening, right?
That's a lot of
and some of them you listen to just a couple minutes and you're like, no, this guy's no good, and you ignore them. But most of them are pretty good, right? Like, so then you listen to them, and so tonight, prior to being on the CU here tonight, Tammy and I, and also Olivia and Olivia's friend Payne and Rowan, we were all there in the living room, and just like I had it narrowed down to about a dozen, and then we were going back and forth between them, and I got it down to 2 or 3, and then I was like making my notes on them so I can go back and get those guys to do a callback or whatnot. But I think I've got a couple of really good ones that I really like. So
that has to be nerve-wracking because you put all your time and effort, your heart and soul into this book, and you want it to be properly represented. And to make that decision,
but so you look for a voice. First of all, the very first thing was like, can I listen to this voice for 17 hours, or will it drive me crazy? Well, I like being with this person in my head for 17 hours. So that's one filter. And the second filter right after that is, does this sound like my point of view character? Does it sound like, because this is all told from one point of view, right? So like every word in the book is either like in the guy's mouth or in the guy's head. You know what I mean? So it's got to sound like him. And so that was kind of fun. That made it easy to eliminate some people. And then you're like, well, I don't like their cadence, or I do like their cadence, or I like the way they handled the rising, tension of an action scene, or I do or do not like the way they handled the voices. Although some of the things like that you can go back and give them notes and say, lay off the accent or whatever. And presumably they can do that. It's been kind of fun, but Rowan made a really interesting observation that like most of them just start off, like the first line in that snippet is, I didn't like Etienne till the first moment I saw him, or whatever, and so you hear that over and over and over again, right? But then you get to the one guy who's like, The Mason of New Orleans by Charles Ryan, read by Bob Smith, or whatever. And Rowan was like, well, that guy gets extra points just for doing that. Because I was like, whoa, that sounds good.
Nice.
Professional. Let's talk about Backerkit a little bit.
Mhm.
You mentioned stretch goals. What stretch goals are you currently at? And I wanted to talk about the art, but let's talk about the stretch goals first.
Well, so we'll come back. The first one was an art-related one, but we'll come back to that since we're going to talk about that. And then, you know, it was a pretty big jump from there to the next thing I wanted to do. I had to go a long ways to get to it, but it was really the only really important thing that I wanted to do. So I didn't do any more stretch goals in the middle. And that is the one that we're headed toward now. And I think it's going to come down to the wire, but we've had a great day today. So if the next 42 hours or whatever it is go like it went today, we'll probably make it. And that is to do hardcovers, because
Awesome.
we're funding the 2 audiobooks. We're funding the cover art for the second book, which will be by Drew Baker, the guy who did this piece back here and did the cover of the first one. He's a fantastic artist who does a lot of stuff for Magic the Gathering. He's done some D&D stuff. He does a lot of stuff in the Star Wars realm for the official Star Wars fan club and other things. He's really, really a great artist and a wonderful, wonderful guy. He did the cover of the first one. He's going to do the cover of the second one. So paying for that. And then, of course, making physical books, which, you know, if it's 100 people, I'm making soft covers on a print-on-demand situation, right? Which is great, and they'll be fine. They'll be good, you know, good quality. And I am, as part of this process, I'm redoing the first book's all of its typography, and I'm doing new maps for it, new graphics and stuff like that. So it will have a premium, you know, content-wise, visually, it'll be kind of a premium presentation. But man, I really want it in hardcover, right? I want to be able to give it a few of those. Probably can't afford too much, but a few of those sort of elements that we bring to MCG's deluxe hardcovers. You know, a really nice dust jacket. Maybe we can get some foil stamping on there. Maybe there's a few other things we could do. But you can't do that if you're only making 100 books, right? That's just you can do it. You can do print-on-demand hardcover, but it's not particularly great, right? But like if we go to offset printing, you know, which I have the resources to do as a guy who works at a publishing company and with a lot of experience making great hardcovers, I think we could really do something cool with this book. But we just got to get to a couple hundred backers before that becomes, you know, even remotely practical.
So people, you heard it here first. We need to get to 200 backers for Charles. Go support this project, please. I mean, trust me. You won't be disappointed. You really won't be disappointed. Like I said, the characters are great. I really enjoy them all. And Charles is our good friend. You know, he always brings us goodies from MCG, which he even brought tonight. So I mean, I think this is like a win-win. You support this, he'll give us more goodies.
Thanks. And I don't want to play any sort of like tricksy cards here or whatnot, but I will just say that Olivia has been marketing this into the TikTok world, which is great. I mean, she's had great traction and it's been really cool to see what she can do. But like, you know, TikTok is beating you. Yeah. TikTok is winning now. Really? Is that the way you want it to be? Do you want to represent for the CU?
Yeah, we definitely don't want that. And DM Tales, to answer your question, they are 55 backers away. And I don't see how we can't do 55 backers in 42 hours. I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah, it should be a no-brainer. On top of the fact, like Charles has already said, there is a special CU exclusive only package. If you are a CU member, you will get this. And this is the first time, this is historical because we've never had a CU exclusive anything. So we are honored that Charles even, you know, wanted to do that. But think about that. See how much he loves our community. You know, so community, give that love back. That's pretty awesome that we're going to get a CU exclusive product built from this. I think it's awesome. You know.
Well, if you back at I backed at the everything level, so you get the PDFs, the physical, the print on demand physical books,
Audio books.
The audio books. There's also wonderful art pieces done by somebody we know. You want to talk a little bit about the artwork? We know about the covers, but talk about the art pieces that you're offering.
Yep. So when I was getting this started, Olivia was like, you know, I'd like, how can I help out, right? And I was like, well, because Olivia does, in addition, you guys, I hope the community knows her from, she's, you know, out in social media for MCG. That's she does a lot of stuff in the marketing department, but social media is probably her most visible thing. And of course, if you ever come to the conventions, you know Olivia, she's running our booths and stuff. And has been since she was, you know, this tall. But she's a both Olivia and Ron, very, very talented artists. And Olivia said, I'd like to put together some images of these characters. And I was like, oh, well, that would be cool. And she started doing them. And she does, in addition to her work at MCG and her work in social media and her work in the community and her work at the cons and also being a full-time college student, she has a pretty hop-in business, mostly doing commission character art for people, for people who book lovers and fans like that, but also gamers, right, making character commissions and whatnot. So that's right in her wheelhouse. I was like, cool, yeah, that'd be awesome. And she ended up doing 6. She's now working on her 7th of the major characters in the book. Really, really quite striking, beautiful pieces of these characters. And of course, I was able. It's always nice when you have an art order, or you're working as an art director, to be able to work closely with the artist to make sure it turns out the way you want it to. And she happens to be right in the next room at any given time, right? So that was really handy, and able to walk back and forth and say, look, this character's dead on in this way, or make this change, or this person's hair is different in this way, or whatever, So really, really great representations of the characters. And so there's 6 of them, and then we, as a stretch goal, we decided we would add a 7th, and every pledge level gets an art print of at least 1 character. At the top couple of levels, you get all 6, and then when we added the 7th character, the amount of arts they get goes up by 1. So at the low level, which was only getting 1 piece, now they get 2, and at the top level they get 7 instead of 6. But
yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube or you're watching this on Twitch, if you go to the Backerkit, you can actually see the images. They absolutely gorgeous. Olivia did an awesome job. I think one of the advantages to having your child, if they don't submit them on time, you can always ground them. So that's one of the benefits.
You can't go outside and say you can. No video games, the artwork is done. Give me your cell phone.
All joking aside, these things are really, really awesome and beautiful. I'm excited to see them.
She does great work, and I'm very, very fortunate to have a couple of kids who are so talented and able to contribute in that way. Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, Charles, the only other thing I want to ask, as far as this journey, when you're sitting there as a writer writing a novel, because that's another aspiration. What is it like to be able to just sit and delve into that world when you're writing? Is it cathartic? Is it therapeutic? How do you feel when you get to do that, when you have those moments?
Well, it's like any other creative process, I think, Dean, which I know that you're very familiar with, right? Like you have something in your head and it just wants to get out. And so, yeah, sitting down and typing stuff out is therapeutic and cathartic. Both those words apply. It does feel really nice. I also say that when you're working, and this is, I think, part of why over in the 10 years since the first book, I've only gotten about a third or half of the way through the sequel, is that you kind of have to live in that space more than just the time. I'm pretty consistent when I sit down at a keyboard. I can turn out about 650 words an hour. That seems to be the pace that works really well. But for me to have that hour, I have to have an hour or two where all that stuff was kicking around in my head. You know what I mean? And that's true even when I'm doing game design projects, right? If I'm working on an adventure or something like that, every hour that I spend typing represents about 3 hours worth of total, dedicated brain time, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like I said, I don't know. I being a writer all these years, the one thing I can relate to that is that I haven't met a writer yet that doesn't have a process.
Right.
There's always a process, that you have to go through in order to get there. So, I mean, I just like to always, I think it's interesting for people, other creatives to, hear those things though, and I that's why I ask questions like that, because it's a help, when you can talk about it,
right.
And you can hear from another creative.
Right. And when it comes to fiction, some people outline very heavily and then they write to an outline. Some people just they start writing and they just see where it takes them. Some people move back and forth to different sections of the book. Some people have to write from the beginning all the way through the end. Everybody's process, like you say, is different, but but there's something out there that works for each of us.
On the management side, right? You have a ton of experience taking, a product from the beginning stages to
right
crowdfunded, fully funded, delivered to to the backers. How has this experience been different as opposed to doing it for MCG and now doing it for yourself? And did you learn anything in this process that you didn't encounter working for MCG, doing
or
it for
that you
yourself?
can take back, or that you can take back to MCG?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a really good question. So on the actual process of producing the book, I don't have any big lessons right now because I haven't done any of that. The last few months have been about building the campaign and running the campaign, and then I move into the actual making the book or finishing the book. I have done a little bit of work on the retype setting and stuff like that for the first book, getting it ready to head toward its new sort of not really a true new edition. I guess it's a new edition. So the first book, the Mason of New Orleans, and he did new work on his cover. So I lied. I have done work on it. Wow, I haven't even gotten to your question yet. I just had an entire conversation with myself. But the crowdfunding process was weird because we've done, I think we just closed out Deeper Still, which is our probably 29th crowdfunding process at campaign at MCG. And I have been the showrunner on almost every single one of those, right? So that's a lot of work on crowdfunding. I've never done one for myself before. This is my first one. I had to set up my account and everything on Backerkit to get it started. So I was really working from the ground up, and I did everything. I had no outside work other than Olivia's illustration work. Like all of the graphics on it were my own, how I structured it and whatnot. It was really nice to be able to take all of the experience that I have and to bring that to bear. I think I made a really nice campaign. I'm pretty proud of it as its own creative endeavor, right? I think if I learned something from it, it was certainly that it is really nice to have a team of people to work with that you can go and say, hey, Bear, can you make this look really good for me? And then have him make it look really good. Or, Javier, I need to make something that's just really attractive that people want and have them do it and not rely on me. But mostly, I like working in Backerkit. It's a more flexible platform than Kickstarter for how you set things up and whatnot. And I like playing with that. And we've been playing with that at MCG and how we can further improve the way we use the tool. One of the things I did in Backerkit is I took a chunk of fiction from the new book. So even people that have read the original haven't read this. It's a sequence from the Angel of Acbatana from the current draft. And it's a scene where our main character ends up being caught in a house fire in his medieval manor house. And I broke it into chunks. At the bottom of each pledge level page, I put a chunk, and then I linked it through. And so from a guy who manages crowdfunding projects and wants to find ways to get people to explore your crowdfunding page and maybe go up the pledge ladder and stuff like that. So from the management perspective of it, I thought it was kind of clever that it creates a reason for people who are at the lowest level to maybe want to click through to the next level, and then click through to the next level and click through the next level. And then at the same time, it gives them a reward for doing that because it ends up laying out a fairly hefty scene that they can read. And then it gives me something I can tell people about, like right now, and say, hey, if you want to, a little bit of text from this new book that hasn't even been out yet, here's a way you can find it. So if you're listening to this and you want to go look at the crowdfunding page and you go to the first pledge level, which is called the Reeve, scroll down to the bottom and you'll see some fiction there. And then you can just kind of click through all the levels and read this somewhat hefty sequence. And so things like that, I think, were opportunities to kind of play around and maybe I'll take some of these ideas back to the next thing we're doing at MCG, which we could also talk about while we're here, just pointing out.
I think it's safe to say that when it comes to crowdfunding in the TTRPG space, you guys are the gold standard. And that's not just coming from the CU. I think that's just a general opinion amongst gamers. The way you guys set your crowdfunds, the way it's delivered, the way the information is given out to all potential backers. You guys do everything, and you can see the growth. How you personally learned what's successful, what isn't, and how MCG has grown. And to see you take that knowledge on a personal level, it's really cool to see, and it's
Thank you.
And,
That's
and,
funny to say.
and the one thing that I'm going to tell you that you guys do well, and just so you know, updates. Oh my God, updates. Because people lose their mind if they don't get updates. People love updates. And
Yeah.
MCG has mastered that, just when it's funny. It's like, I'll be looking at our server and somebody will ask a question. Like the other day, somebody was like, "Well, what's going on with Tidal Blades?" Literally 2 days ago. And then today, boom, there's a big thing about Tidal Blades. And, so it's like, it's almost like you guys have your ear to the ground, or you pick up the vibrational frequencies of your patrons. So,
Thank you. Well, kind of need to say, I was actually going to mention the Tidal Blades as soon as you started talking about updates. That, of course, is not actually our project, but yes, it was very exciting to see their update today, because we too have been waiting for bated breath to hear that the books have arrived in a warehouse. And I have to say, if you looked at that actual update from them, it shows a picture of the truck arriving, and it's arriving in a subterranean space, which is really cool. But here in Kansas City, we do have these very large storage areas that are underground. They're old, like, quarries or something like that are now used for warehousing. So I looked at it, I was like, I wonder if that's here. I wonder if that's in Kansas City, because that's not where Druid City is located. They're not from here, but that may be doing their fulfillment from a site someplace else. So
we still need to film the warehouse. That's on my bucket list for like the last year and a half now.
Yeah, you guys should go out and have a look.
we definitely have to go for
we definitely got to get down there for that.
But not now, because we 3 weeks ago, whenever it was, we got the Invisible Sun in, and boom, the warehouse, like every square inch was covered, like it was just filled like this deep in black cubes. And they've been shipping out, so most of them are gone. But when that happens, anytime that the mobility within the warehouse is constricted, then it starts getting really messy, because like there's something you got to put away, but you can't get to where it goes. So we'll just set it over here, and then so it's going to take us the next week or so. We're going to be recovering from the entire Invisible Sun process just in time to get the Magnus archives in here real soon.
So
fill the place up again.
Since we've been talking, we've gotten 3 backers. So come on, let's keep this thing going.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So there's 41 hours left now, and anything else you want to tell us about this series that we may have not spoke about, or you may have not mentioned that you really want to get out there to our audience?
Yeah. If you like fun books with interesting plots and cool characters and whatnot, I think you'll like it. Check it out. I don't think I have an awful lot more to say. That we can. We're at 9:35. We can cut over and talk a little bit about. There might be something else to talk about.
Yeah.
But please, I would absolutely love. I would love your support. I'd love the support of everybody in the CU community, because it means a lot to me. I spend my days every day very happily, with a great deal of excitement, bringing other people's creative visions to the world, and I'm very, very proud and happy with what we do. I think MCG makes just some incredible stuff. This is my thing, right? And it means a lot to me to bring that out. So that'd be my last word on the subject.
Before we jump ship, I'm just going to say this for everybody out there. This is a historical fiction story that brings in elements of gothic horror and fantasy, but it's done in such a subtle and realistic way that you could almost see yourself being caught up in it. So that being said, I'm just trying to give you people an understanding of what you get by being a part of this and really delving into it, because it's very inspirational. You get lots of ideas. I've had ideas for several one-shots, and so people just go out back. And like Anthony said, we got 3 more. We need 52 more people to jump on the bandwagon to get this put in hardcover. And who doesn't want a nice hardcover to put on their shelf that's just going to look great, and also signed by none other than the man himself? I mean,
True.
that's those are huge things because you never know. If this goes like the New York bestseller or something, hey, you got a signed copy.
Before I even go and say, Charles has been instrumental in anything the CU has ever done since the very beginning. Tammy is our, the CU mom. The Ryan family as a whole have been supporters of us individually, the server. There's never been a time in the history of the 5 years that the CU has been in existence that I have ever asked Charles for anything, for members of the server, for the golden ones. He's always been willing to help, and I just want to reciprocate and return the favor. So please, from the bottom of my heart, if you can support this, even for the littlest, the first pledge level, please do. You're not only supporting Charles and Tammy, you're supporting great human beings that we wouldn't have a CU if it wasn't for them. So, it's our turn to support him now.
Well, that is super, super sweet of you to say. But I don't want to, I want to be really careful and not be stealing any of you guys' thunder, because you guys have built such a great community, and we have, we would just be fools to not give you that support when you guys do such a fantastic job growing and building and supporting and nurturing such a fantastic community. So I don't want to be, I don't want to be here and sort of like take any of that away from you guys in any way, shape, or form. We are all here to help you guys and the community and whatnot, but you guys do the hard work.
It's already out there, Charles. I said it. No takesy backsies.
No backsies. No backsies.
Now that we spoke about that, you guys made an announcement today on the official. Now put your COO hat on. Monica Games made an announcement today. What was that?
Well, we actually made it Friday, but you could be forgiving for missing it because it was at the end of Deeper Still, and Deeper Still took advantage of this feature that Backerkit has now, which is like, if you ever back into your campaigns, you notice that it says like, there's a little thing that says the backer train is going, and it says how many people are, like, as long as it doesn't go 10 minutes without a pledge, the backer train keeps growing. Well, if the backer train is still active, the campaign stays open. So the campaign was scheduled to end at 7 my time, and for another 4.5, 5 hours, people just kept backing, and so it did stay open for a while longer. So this came out a little bit late on Friday, sort of like how it is in politics, like they always try to like release an unfavorable story like on Friday night so nobody will notice it. So people can be forgiven for missing it. But anyway, so we sort of teased out our next campaign, our next thing, and it's called The Darkest Woods. And if you know what the Darkest House is, then you can kind of get a sense of what this is about. This is like the Darkest House. It's a standalone product. You take it, and it's adventure content that you're going to use with your existing campaign. Just like the Darkest House, it's going to work best in your existing campaign because it's a horror environment. But the horror is going to sort of get the most out of your characters' backstories and their relationships, and NPCs in their past and their fears and their hatreds and their loves. That's what you're going to derive this horror out of and make the most out of. So you could certainly make characters and then play the Darkest Woods, but just like the Darkest House, you'll have the most fun if you sort of slip it into a campaign that's ongoing. It differs from the Darkest House because the Darkest House is kind of like a campaign subplot, right? Like you lure your players in, you scare them with an evening, like a one shot or something like that. They finally escape the Darkest House. They're like, whew, okay, well, I'm glad that's over. That was fun, and spooky. That was great. Well, we'll do a scary adventure next Halloween time or whatever, right? But then 6 months later, you pull them back in and they're like, oh shit, it's this place again. And then they, ultimately they discover that there is a thread there. There's a plot line that they can uncover the secrets of the house and sort of defeat it, if you will, banish it from their world. The Darkest Woods is kind of like that, but it is a true mega adventure. Like, it's not going to be a go in and then come out and then go back in and come back out. It's probably going to be go in and then sort of play through it for many, many, many sessions until you can finally get out of it. And it's really based on like the primal fear that we have of the wilderness. This is the Darkest Woods seeps into, it can be any place where there's woods. You can be on the outskirts of the woods, and it's yellow leaves and dappled light and rabbits and fawns and things like that. But then as you get into the deeper, darker places, you might find yourself in the darkest woods, which is its own sort of realm, its own sort of sort of platonic ideal of the horror of nature, if you will. The woods aren't necessarily your enemy, right? It's just an environment. It's an environment that is harsh. It's an environment that is cruel. It's an environment that more than anything is uncaring. It just doesn't, the house hates you. The woods just don't care about you. And within the woods, there are entities they're deeply malignant. And, if you can think of anything from, Frodo or Bilbo's trip through the Mirkwood all the way up to the Blair Witch Project, if you think of any sort of like environment where people find themselves lost in the forest and it just becomes this sort of wicked, terrible place to be, that's sort of the vibe you're going to be able to find.
It's primordial. It's the primordial.
Very primal. Yep, absolutely.
It's the primordial place of existence. It's probably that core. But
right.
Just out of curiosity, just want to make sure we're understanding this right. So for everybody out there, so is this going to be produced simultaneously as a digital product and a book?
Yes. Yep. So if you remember when we did The Darkest House initially, Monte had initially conceived of it as a digital product that was intended to be like built for the digital era, because it was actually developed during the COVID era, right? We were all at home, working from home, gaming from home and whatnot. And Monte really started thinking about like, what is, you can have a PDF of a book and have it on your screen, your monitor over here, and then you've got, Roll20 or Discord or whatever over here, and you're talking to your players and whatnot. But like, even that's not really built for this. Like, what if you had a product that was totally built for the digital age, where all the art, all of the maps, even, the handouts, even sound effects and things like that were all stuff that you could just grab out of this thing and give to the players online really easily. Even like one of the players hears something whisper in its ear, there's a piece of text that you could click with one click and then paste it into a text message with one click and send it to that PC. And the other players don't even know about it. Like, so to like make the most out of the digital environment, that's what the original Darkest House was about. And as time went on and we got out of COVID and more people said, this is a really cool product, but I'd rather have a book, we made The Darkest House as a book as well. And it's been a huge seller as a book. It's been through a couple different printings. It's done really, really well. And as well it should have. It's a really cool product. And so the Darkest Woods will take both forms simultaneously. So when we crowdfund this, rather than it being the digital and then later on we decide to make a book, in this case we'll do both at the same time. So you can choose your format or get them both. It will have some cool additional content, some cool additional elements to it as well. And we may even see the ability to take that app, the Darkest House app, because the Darkest Woods will be a very similar app where it's a standalone app. Instead of it being a PDF, you actually just have an app that you launch. We may be able to make some improvements to how that works. We're studying the lessons we've learned from several years of that being in existence to make it even easier to use, easier to navigate, make it easier on the GM. And we can roll those out, not just into the Darkest Woods, but we can also roll them into the Darkest House as well, because you won't have to, because the Darkest House, when you open the app, it goes and pulls the data from our server. If we make those improvements, you'll go in the Darkest House that you already own, and you'll see that right there.
You mentioned Monte, who was the lead designer on the Darkest House. Is he also taking the lead on the new project?
This is 100% Monte. The Darkest House was, as I understand it, very close to 100% Monte. It came out of stuff that was in his campaigns that he was running, as do a lot of stuff that he does. But the Darkest House had its roots. It had its roots in Invisible Sun, and even elements going all the way back to Tallis, right, in the early 2000s. From sort of campaigns that he's run have had elements of the Darkest House, and then he built that out. And the Darkest Woods, I don't know that all assignments have been done and how it's going to be written, but Monte has been the sole worker on it now. I mean, he's got a ton of stuff for it done already. So I don't know if he intends to work with the rest of the design team on it, or whether he's going to keep it all, if he's going to do it all himself.
So, Charles, I mean, this is like phenomenal. This is great. It's ideas are already blossoming, but once this project gets closer to launch or after launch, let's get Monte on the show. He hasn't been on for a while, because I think that
Yeah.
would be great. I mean, it's always great to have Monte on the show because when he comes on, you know, everybody gives different perspectives,
Right.
and it is very nice as a whole to see MCG, and I know that the members of the CU, the fans of MCG, really enjoy seeing the company, because you guys are very open and giving, so we really do appreciate that too.
Thank you.
Well, now let me. Okay, I'm sorry.
I was going to say. I'm sorry to sort of jump in, but I was going to say that so we already were kind of heartbroken that Al was not going to be with us at GameholeCon in a few weeks, and then we got this terrible news, Anthony, that you're also not going to be there, but
Yeah, it sucks.
but for good reasons, like for awesome reasons. I don't know what you said to the well, it's your reasons to explain, so I won't say it. But for awesome reasons, you won't be there with us at GameholeCon, which is sad. Dean will be there, I hope, right, Dean?
Absolutely, I have a ticket already. I'm not.
Cool. Well, but I mean, I don't know. Do you guys want to do? Do you guys are planning on doing anything from GameholeCon?
Well, Kate may brought it up, and I was just going to talk to the guys after the stream, about at least having Al and maybe setting up something and doing a live stream, maybe doing a Thursday night stream from Gamehole.
Let's do it.
I've got a couple of extra cameras. I've got cameras and stuff that I can set up, and maybe we could just set it up on the mezzanine and then have the entire MCG crew there and do a live stream.
I feel even worse.
but I'll set it up. Like I said, I think I've got 1, 2, 3. I've got about 5 cameras, so we should be set. We can set the cameras up, and as long as Al is available to do the behind the scenes and get us all connected, I think we should be able to do a great live stream from Gamehole if everybody will be up for it, And in that way, we won't have to have a set guest. I mean, people can just come and go, all the members of the team.
Yep. I think that'd be fantastic. 100%. Let's do it.
One more question. When's the projected date for this product to come out?
So this is a 2025 product. So it's not the release of the product is not imminent. We will be crowdfunding it pretty soon. When exactly, I will not say, but I will say that we are at the dawn of spooky season right now. It certainly seems like it's a good fit for the season. So it's not going to be too long before you learn more. But in the meantime, of course, as always, there's a sign up page already, so you can go to that, sign up for it, and we will be happy to let you know when it launches. And as always, we will have a little incentive for doing that. The incentive is not announced yet. We're still dotting our I's and crossing our T's to make sure we don't promise something we can't deliver. But we've got kind of a neat thing in mind for that. So it'll be fun to roll that out in the next probably next week sometime to let people know. But regardless, even if you sign up now, even though it doesn't say you're going to get something, you'll get something. So do it. And also, if you back the Darkest House, there might be a little something that we can do for backers that return.
Oh, that's awesome. So guys, not only the Darkest Woods is approaching, are you going to enter the woods or not? Let us know. Charles is giving us the impression that it's coming rather soon. So I'm excited for that. I know Dean is excited. I know the CU's excited. The Darkest House is personally one of the most innovative things that MCG ever did. I've said that many a time. Chat is saying everyone is spending my money. I definitely see that point. So yeah, definitely be on the lookout for that. And more importantly, go check out Charles's personal project. The Mason of New Orleans is currently on Backerkit right now. There's a special CU member prize for you if you back. So check it out. We really appreciate you doing so. Not only are you getting 2 great books, but you're supporting a great person. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
And I'm just going to add to this about the Darkest House and the Darkest Wood. Like Anthony said, she can't say it enough about how excited I have been using the Darkest House every year at Halloween time. I put it on the 75-inch TV, I turn the lights down, and I run a Halloween game, and it works unbelievably. So I can only imagine what the Darkest Wood is going to bring, to the table, with the sound bites and the, you know, just the atmosphere that you can build from it. And I'm going to, Anthony, I'm going to quote Anthony. We're getting this from Monte Cook, the man with the illest pen in the RPG game. He's got the illest pen in the RPG industry. We got to actually get a shirt made with that on there because it's true. Monte's so innovative. You can't go wrong by, jumping on the bandwagon tonight, or jumping on the bandwagon, period. It doesn't matter when you do it. So, yes. And then as far as Charles's project, back it, people, you will not be disappointed. It is an excellent read. Charles's command of language is very natural. It's a naturalistic read. It's not, it's not too highbrow, but in the same breath, it's not see spot run. It really it's enough to envelop you into the story, and his descriptions are just enough to set the stage, but it's just good stuff. So yes, please back these things, guys, and thank everybody for coming out, hanging out, talking with us tonight, talking with Charles. Charles, thank you as always.
Always happy to be here.
Anthony.
Charles, thank you for everything, for us to see you. Thank you for coming on again. Sean, it's time, so the ball's in your court, buddy. And from us, if you like us and you like what we do, join the Cypher Unlimited Discord server for all things Monte Cook games. We have the largest fan-run Discord server for everything MCG. We have games being run almost daily, great conversations being had. But if Discord's not for you, join our Facebook group. Not as big as our Discord, but there's still great conversations being had there daily. Our videos are always free, but if you want to support us financially in any way, give us a little donation on Ko-fi. It helps us out tremendously with little things like organizing cons and giveaways and stuff like that. Give us find in the comments your heart. Give us a subscription here on Twitch, or like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. We're still trying to build both platforms up as much as possible, and any help you could give us would be greatly appreciated. Or go to our online store and pick up some cool Cypher Unlimited merch. And yes, CypherCon 1.0 into the Cypherverse hats and shirts and mugs and t-shirts are all available there for a limited time. And yes, the old logo from last year is also available, and that's going to be closing very shortly. And last but not least, we love you guys.
Oh yes,
Thank
thank
you so much.
everyone for stopping by. But just a quick correction, Anthony. The old logo is already gone. I took it away that Sunday, like we mentioned. We talked about it, and so if you didn't get the old logo, that's it. It is over. But the new logos for CypherCon 1.0 still available. So definitely check those out.
Look at that.
I'm a
Look at
dummy.
that.
I'm a dummy because it was my call to close it on Sunday.
Correct. But either way, thank you everyone for coming,
said give 'em a
watching,
week.
listening. Thank you, Charles, for coming and talking with us. And as usual, from us at the CU, we will see you later. Peace.